A couple of days ago now, I did a video where I was tier ranking all of the skills in The Sims 4, giving my opinion on them, discussing what actually came from those skills, what were fun to work on. And whilst I was making that video, I obviously did a little bit of research because as much as I played The Sims 4, as many thousands upon thousands of hours I have in this game, sometimes over the years I do forget certain things. And there were some things relating to the Grim Reaper and kind of extending your life and your Sim's lifespan that I had definitely forgotten about skills, and those being unlocked the further you progress into them. Which of course, with the release of Life and Death, led me to making this video, which is everything you might not know about the Grim Reaper in The Sims 4. And also just like lifespans in general, how you can interact with him, what doing different things can lead to. Turns out the Grim Reaper actually has a little bit more depth to him than I originally thought. Unfortunately, we didn't get any new ways to greet a sim with the Grim Reaper, which was definitely unfortunate because I really missed that personal aspect of The Sims 2 and The Sims 3, especially with the way that he used to guide pets with a bone. It was like he was welcoming a friend, and it just feels like The Sims 4 is a lot less personal. It doesn't depend on your relationship. He just goes on his iPad, bada bing, bada boom, your soul has been reaped. First off, being in The Sims 4 base game is obviously your emotions and also your age can have an effect when you are actually pleading for a soul. Now, I can't show you this within my game because, let's be real, I'm not going to play around with all of these emotions. I do apologize. However, there is a 33% chance of the Grim Reaper bringing a sim back to life if you plead for them. Sims who are fine and happy can normally plead. Sims who are confident can demand the Grim Reaper to spare the sim's life, which is actually a 40% chance rate. This increases to 50% if the pleading sim is very confident. Sims who are flirty can seduce the Grim Reaper. Only a 10% success chance on that one. 20% if they're very flirty. Sims who are angry can yell at the Grim, which will always be rejected. Sims who are sad can wail about the dying sim's demise. 30% chance this plea will work. 33% if they also have the gloomy trait on top of that, and 36% if they have the gloomy trait and are very sad. Child Sims have a better chance of succeeding over any other ages. Sims with level 5 more in mischief can toy with death using a voodoo doll. Grim Reaper will lose the ability to reap Sim's life. Success chance will depend on how many times the sim toys with death before the Grim Reaper decides to reap the dying sim. Now, I only had my sim manage to do it 2 times, and unfortunately, he still reaped the sim, so that actually didn't work out for me. But obviously, there is a success chance, so maybe if you can potentially do that a few more times than I did, then that would be possible to save a sim. And obviously, a lot of this comes down to the Death Flower. We've just had the Reaper's Rewards, which kind of talked you through obtaining Death Flowers and then obviously making ambrosia. If you have a ghost sim added to your household and then have them eat ambrosia, they come back to a human form. However, you're probably going to want Death Flowers for a lot of the things that we are going to be talking about in today's video. If you just give a Death Flower to the Reaper whilst they are trying to reap a sim who has passed away, they will just automatically be revived. That's an easy way to save someone from death. Obviously, with base game, after the update that came for Life and Death, we can now officially romance the Grim Reaper. You were always able to flirt with him, but there wasn't a lot of interactions that you could do. I don't think you could ever kiss the Grim Reaper, and you definitely could not woohoo the Grim Reaper, but in base game, that is now a possibility. Obviously, if you then actually got Life and Death, you can actually have the Grim Reaper's baby. That will lead them to be Grimborn. They will have a little scythe birthmark on their neck from the second they are born. As they grow, that will stay there, and they actually get a fair few days added on to their lifespan. And then anyone who is born from that sim will be a descendant of Grim, which I don't think actually adds anything to the lifespan. It's just a nice little thing to say, they are a descendant. abandoned. However, another thing that you might not know about ghosts in the Sims 4 base game is the Book of Life. So this is actually available to your sim when they complete the writer aspiration, and they're also a level 10 in their writing skill. If you do both of those things, it unlocks the Book of Life. Now, I actually did a whole Let's Play about this called the 13 Souls Challenge. One of my favorite challenges I have ever done in The Sims 4. I thought it was so interesting. And with this Book of Life, you basically write it, and then it kind of works like a voodoo doll. You can decide who to dedicate that Book of Life to. And then once you've actually tied that to a sim and you have it in your inventory, you have to do that whilst they are alive. And then when they do pass away, you can click on the book within your inventory and you can summon the ghost. Once you have summoned the ghost, if you have a high enough friendship with them, obviously you can ask them to move back into your household. You're gonna want to do this because they are gonna need to be playable, kind of like you need to do for Ambrosia, so that you can actually direct them to eat it. But you have them read their own book, and that means that you can revive a sim. So if you don't want to go down the Ambrosia route within base game, you can definitely go the Book of Life route, especially if you are already thinking of having an author sim. Also, I'm gonna leave the rules to the 13 Souls Challenge down below because it's really interesting and I never see anyone talk about it anymore, and it's honestly one of the best challenges I've ever completed in this game. Next up, we have something that was introduced in The Sims 4 Get to Work. You actually have to be in the science career for this. You have to be in the level 10 of the science career. And then you also, as you are going up through that science career, obviously your sim will start to have breakthroughs. It's a little light bulb icon above their head. They can get them from having inspirational showers or reading books or experimenting, analyzing. A lot of things that you actually do in that career will lead to breakthroughs. You need to have 19 of those bad boys. Yes, you heard me correctly. Also, didn't realize that if you shift click a sim and go on cheat sim info, you can actually give a sim in the scientist career breakthroughs instantly using a cheat, which is very handy to know. But at this 19th breakthrough, you will actually unlock a serum that you can create, which is the Reaper's Friend Serum. For this, you'll need both an alien crystal, so that's a crystal that you can find on Sixim. Obviously, you can get this in some other ways. I actually got one from reaching a hand into a rift that was in the Reaper career, and also a death flower. Once you have both of those ingredients, you can create the Reaper's Friend Serum. Now, this actually helps you avoid death. If you have this serum and it's not tainted and it actually works out, Grim will spawn and he'll come and angrily slap your sim. I was so confused when this first happened. I was like, why has Grim just appeared and now wants to angrily slap Mortimer Goth? And then I tried it again. It worked that way again, and I was like, this doesn't feel like I'm a friend of the Grim Reaper unless he just like slapping his friends into oblivion, which like, fair and valid. I mean, you gotta wake him up somehow, you know? You gotta keep him fighting. But for 24 hours after you have drank that serum, if your sim does happen to pass away, they will be resurrected and they'll actually become friends with the Grim Reaper. It's like he's welcoming an old friend for those 24 hours, a friend that he has just gone and slapped the absolute hell out of. Honestly, probably not the most helpful thing in the world, but I mean, an easy way to befriend the Grim Reaper if maybe you don't have the Grimaphone from the Reaper's rewards and you can't just like summon the Grim Reaper to hang out with him. Also, it just feels like you are actually plotting your sim's death when it gives you a 24-hour window, which by the way, a lot of these are. And I have to say, sorry to all of you Mortimer Goth stans, but he was my guinea pig and I did offer him up numerous times to the Grim Reaper throughout this video. Don't worry, it's my townie makeover of him. Daddy Mortimer will forgive me. Next up, we have The Sims 4 Seasons. This is related to the flower arranging skill. I fully forgot that this was a thing. And then I think it was my growing together Let's Play. I was like, oh yeah, this is a thing thing that can happen. So as you actually go up in the flower arranging skill, you can scent your bouquets with different flowers. They all kind of have their own powers. I'll actually leave a link down below that tells you like all the different things. I know if you, I think it's crocus, don't quote me on that one, but there's definitely a scent that you can use that helps to relax bees, which I for one am very, very grateful about because bees are so aggressive in the Sims 4 seasons. However, at level 9, it actually unlocks the ability to scent your bouquets with rare flowers. And obviously the death flower is pretty rare. You actually have to do quite a lot of work for it if you don't have the Sims 4 Life and Death. Or you don't have Horse Ranch and you can't just befriend Roberto and then he just gives you like a handful of death flowers. But if you send a bouquet with a death flower and then you use the friendly gift giving and you actually gift one of your bouquets that is scented with it, that will instantly age up a Sim. So they'll go from whatever life stage they are currently in to the next life stage. Obviously, if you do that with an elder, the next life stage is death. So any elders who receive that as a gift will ultimately pass away. That is how I got Mortimer to pass away so many times. He was absolutely fuming. Just a handy death to maybe have in your back pocket if you're, let's say, doing the Black Widow challenge, for example, and you don't want to overexert your elders. When it comes to the Sims 4 Realm of Magic, there's obviously a couple of different magical things that can help you with Sims lifespans, help you with ghosts, and two of those are potions. So you have the potion of immortality and you also have the potion of resurrection. If you have your Sim drink the potion of immortality, they straight up can't pass away from elderly demise. They can obviously pass away through other means, for example, fires, etc, etc. I'm sure you don't need a list of all the ways that you can kill off a Sim. However, they refuse to die by old age. And then if you have a Sim drink the potion of resurrection, they again for 24 hours, if you have a Sim die within that 24-hour period, they will just automatically get resurrected. They won't even sniff a peep of the Grim Reaper. He won't even appear on the lot. He's just like, you know what? Straight back to it. Get back in that life simulation game. And then there are two spells for your spellcasters. The first one is Necrocall and the second one is De-Deathify. I feel like I always mispronounce that one. Obviously, with Necrocall, kind of works the same way as the Book of Life. You can just click on a Sim's urn or a gravestone and then you'll ultimately be able to summon them at any point. Obviously, you can just wait till nighttime and see if a ghost does actually decide to haunt your lot, but if you want a ghost on demand, that is a good one to have. And then De-Deathify, you actually restore your ghost. So again, kind of works like the Book of Life, but instead of actually having a Sim have to join your household, you can just cast De-Deathify on them and they will turn back into a human Sim. Just keep in mind, obviously, they won't be a ghost any longer, so they won't have any of their ghost powers if you do happen to have the Sims 4 Life and Death and have been working on that. But if your Sim becomes a ghost, and that even means just like a temporary ghost, maybe from a certain drink or from swimming in the lake, they can actually work on their powers. And then if they turn back to being human, when they actually turn back into being a ghost, either temporary again, or when they reach the end of their life, they actually still hold the same powers that they had originally. So your ghost powers do stick around. In Eco Lifestyle, obviously, we got introduced to juice fizzing, and when your Sim is a level 5, you unlock Grimbucha. Now, I had no idea what this was until I actually made my skills video. This was something that I completely forgot about. It's actually really sick because the little like glass jar that you have has its own little like skull print on it. It's kind of its own little thing. And this again basically makes your Sim death proof. So if you drink that Grimbucha and then within 24 hours have your Sim pass away, boom, they are resurrected instantly. It has the same powers as the Reaper's Friend Serum, except you don't become friends with Grim once you have actually come back, and the potion of resurrection. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get video evidence of this. However, I have actually read that if you have an evil chicken, Charles the evil chicken from Cottage Living, which I did actually have on my lot, but unfortunately, he just clearly wasn't in the fighting mood. I don't know why, because they were pretty good friends with Mortimer, but I had Mortimer pass away and had no reaction. Maybe the chicken was just a little bit too slow. Maybe they couldn't get into my house. I don't really know what it was, but sometimes I think your evil chicken can actually fight the Grim Reaper if their owner passes away. I don't know if maybe they need to be like the last sim on the lot. The evil chickens, they have our back. This I absolutely did not know was a thing, but if you have The Sims 4 for rent, if you actually have Grim on your lot, either after a reaping or again, maybe you've called him through the Grimaphone, maybe you're just in the Reaper career with Life and Death and you can call him to like hang out at your lot. If he is talking with another sim, if he's currently in a conversation with someone, you can actually go on friendly, you can go on gossip, and then obviously if you have for rent, you can eavesdrop on sims. And when you do that, you can find out secrets about sims. Turns out the Grim Reaper has his own little special secret. Now, I know I've put it up on screen, but I'm not going to read it out word for word, just in case you don't want spoilers. I just feel like that was a ploy. I feel like that was the Sim Gurus giving us a hint that obviously Life and Death was in the work, because he says something about the afterlife and how it's not like the end of the road and that it's like all fun and games, which just sounds like a hint that they were working on a better afterlife. They're so sneaky with it. Last but not least, obviously, we have the newest expansion pack, which is Life and Death, which obviously added a fair bit to the Grim Reaper. We've already talked about being able to try for a baby. However, there are also new interactions with Grim. I think some of these are actually available even if you aren't in the Reaper career. You can ask about the Rainbow Bridge, which usually was only available, I think, with cats and dogs, but now I think it's available for everyone. You can also ask him for like fashion advice. So there's a couple of like little small talk type things, but actually as you go up in the career, you actually unlock new interactions with him. Obviously, you can ask him to reveal what's under his hood. They all tend to be pretty like superficial interactions, like kind of just small talk, but they are available, and the further you go up in the career, the more you'll obviously like build your rapport with the Grim Reaper, which makes sense. And also with the traits that came with Life and Death, you can do some individual interactions. So for example, if you have a skeptical sim, you can ask for proof of powers from the Grim Reaper. He'll kind of do like a hover animation that shows that obviously he can reap souls. Macabre sims really enjoy talking about death with the Grim Reaper. And then when it comes to the Thanatology skill, it does say that you can capture the essence of life. I actually haven't figured out how to do that or even known if you can do that. You can obviously make soul soup, but it really just gives you an energized moodlet. It's not anything really to do with like death or anything that can help you avoid death. But if you reach level 5 in the Thanatology skill, you actually get like a couple of days taken off your lifespan, I'm fairly sure, or added to your lifespan, I guess. Your age rolls back a little bit, just so it means that you live on a little bit longer. You also unlock the ability to toy with death. Now, I didn't see an interaction about this. However, I was so desperately confused when Grim Reaper actually appeared on my lot and then just started fighting Cassandra. I was like, what the hell is happening here? Every time he spawned on my lot, he sniffed out Cassandra. Not only did he slap her father, but he then just got in a fight with her. And I think that's actually what the toy with death is, which feels a little bit weird because it feels like thanatologists like actually like know more about death. Maybe it's just they want to be like close to death because they're so like captivated by it, and that's why she like jumped him at any given opportunity. It was definitely a little bit weird. I think that's what the toy with death is, but feel free to correct me if I am wrong on that one. And then also, instead of just only being able to plea for a sim or obviously do any of the other things that we have spoken about in this video, you can now also challenge the Grim Reaper. So whilst he is actually like on his iPad and stuff, you can click on him. Usually this is when you are able to plea, but if you go to more interactions, you will see a pop-up if you have Life and Death that says challenge Grim Reaper to a game. Now this is actually cross-compatible. It goes over a number of games that we have in other packs. So for example, if you have Discover University, you can challenge him to ping pong or beer pong, to chess, to basketball if you have City Living. I thought that this was just going to work if you actually won the game, then obviously he would spare that sim and bring them back to life. However, I did this in my cross-compatibility video. I don't know if it was just broken, but my sim lost at horseshoes that came with Outdoor Retreat, and yet the Grim Reaper still decided to spare their life. So might be a little bit finicky. And that is pretty much everything that I personally could like remind myself or like figure out about life and expansion of life and avoiding death, but also interactions with the Grim Reaper. If there are any more, definitely let me know. I hope this video was helpful though, even for those of you who may not have picked up life and death. I do find the different ways of being able to plead for a life, and that depending on mood, really interesting. That's something that I personally never really like looked into all that deeply. So a big thank you to Fandom for giving that information. I will actually leave a link to that in the description down below in case you want to go over that information yourself. I appreciate you all very much, and I will speak to you all in my next one. Bye now.